took a while, but it seems now that something might actually happen this volume. What another Volume 7 episode. It starts off fine, there's some bland but acceptably competent scenes of training with some issues here and there. Mara had a real point about how Blake and Yang shouldn't always team up, because if Team RWBY is supposed to be a 4-person group, they should be able to team with other members, and we do see Yang teaming with RWBY, so yeah, he's right, they shouldn't always team up. And this here is supposed to make their funk styles look like they work together, but really, Yang could have done that on her own by just punching the Grim one more time. I mean, Blake added nothing. If Yang had just tossed that Grim at the other Grim, it would have accomplished the same result, and it would have probably been easier because Blake could have done something else like take out different Grim. Given what we've seen Mara accomplish with his team, you'd think he'd know a little thing about teamwork. I hate the fact that Nora attributes ladies' man John to being because of his haircut. Considering a good 95% of the fan base hates the haircut, this scene is hilariously inept. I know that this was made before the fan backlash, but it just makes this really funny to me. Also, if they're going to try and make Oscar look like he has a clue, maybe don't have him rush head-on in a fight with Ironwood. He should be using the fact that he's got a fucking weapon to his advantage by keeping Ironwood at a distance. And what's this shit about extending your aura? Are we going to actually get, like, any sort of elaboration on that? Nobody said shit about that in the past, not even Mary Sue Prodigy Pyrrha. It was at this point that I noticed they've been going for more 20-minute long episodes without having enough content to actually fill those episodes up. So the majority of this episode is stuff that could easily be removed without affecting the actual episode or the grander narrative. In fact, the only thing you'd probably lose is Team Funky returning, which, yeah, was cool, but ultimately it just tickles some fans that might still be watching, and that's it. The opening 5 minutes, at least, are entertaining. What we get after is less so. First off, the 2D effects really are getting on my nerves. They don't fit the aesthetic of the show whatsoever. Like, these effects on the wheels look atrocious, and these effects you could probably find online as a green screen. This is just sad. I was pleased that they didn't try to peg Ironwood as a bad person for telling Penny she doesn't have time for friends, considering Penny has real responsibilities, and it'd be pretty stupid for a military leader to consider the social life of his workers as more important than the betterment of his entire country. And the interaction between Clover and Crow isn't awful. I'm just worried there's going to be some super lovey-dovey crap between them instead of just a normal fucking friendship. I do like Clover, and I do like Crow, but this part here, which in any other show I wouldn't think twice about, but this is RWBY, makes me concerned this will be a romantic thing. I'm sure a bunch of fans would love that, but I'd rather they just be normal friends. Also, I get the joke with Penny saying she'll plan for 6 outcomes, but it makes no sense. She's been with Atlas for months, she should understand military jargon. It should be more normal phrases and idioms that she doesn't understand. Then there's Robin Hill, a character that just shows up after appearing very briefly in the intro sequence and is suddenly treated as having extremely great relevance even though nobody cares. It would have been easy just to have RWBY go, who the fuck is this senile bitch? But then again, I'd ask how she wouldn't know her given she spent all that time doing shit in the montage of the opening. Like, why? Why didn't they introduce Robin in the first episode? Or at least have someone see a poster and be like, who's that? Or have these drunk idiots say, yeah, Robin. Or anything. Or maybe even have a scene during the montage that actually has narrative worth, instead of a pointless Team Funky fight that could probably put in another episode. Here, she just spontaneously appears out of nowhere like she suddenly has importance, and unlike Ironwood or Tyrion, she doesn't make an impact or really get any explanation or real introduction, she's just here now. At least Sienna Khan got name dropped earlier, this is just, hi, I'm here now, I was in that intro for like a second, haha. It would have been cool to get a Huntsman fight, and given RWBY got its popularity from its rule of cool as opposed to rule of competency, I expected, given how the last episode harkened back to the writing style of older volumes, that this would result in a cool fight, but no. Even though it'd be cool to get a proper Huntsman versus Huntsman fight, we don't get that, and the closest I can remember us getting is Crow versus Winter, and in that fight Crow was given like 3% effort, so, I don't know. I guess you could count Crow versus Tyrion, but I don't recall a proper, full-length Huntsman fight. I think there might be a fight in the After the Fall book, but that doesn't fucking count. You know, Robin's introduction here actually reminds me of Faunus. Like, they're shown in one episode, very briefly, and anybody could miss them if they're not paying attention. Then all of a sudden, a big deal is made of them out of nowhere, with no real introduction or anything. It's just suddenly faunas exist, here's a rabbit. Needless to say that this scene left borderline no impact on me, and as much as I'd love to say it felt longer than it was really was half the episode. We get a semblance of a fight scene with Weiss and Winter summons, and it's surprising because there's this strange thing called chemistry that seems to exist between them. But if they want to sell the concept that Winter has grown as a character, maybe having her appear in more than 2 episodes prior to this volume would have been a good idea. I really feel like Weiss's "people think they're right, but sometimes just act for themselves" spiel should have been directed towards RWBY. I also hope they don't have some big anti-Ironwood reveal that makes him out to be some sort of bad guy or incompetent idiot or just doing things for himself or shit like that. The idea that he's looking out for himself would be really stupid considering he literally has the worst public image he probably has ever had right now, with multiple people gunning for him. He's made himself a gigantic fucking target for Salem, and he plans to reveal big secrets to the world that could make him very controversial as a figure in the whole of Remnant, considering he was part of a gigantic cover-up of all this shit. Don't make him a bad guy, Rooster Teeth, I fucking beg of you. Because if he was really supposed to be a bad guy, he would have offed the Winter Maiden while she was with Winter. And if we're talking about what's right, there's an argument that killing one person who's on the cusp of death anyway to save the entire world is right. Unless you're one of those people who thinks it's not worth killing one life to save billions, which is a moral debate I don't want to get into as long as the comment section isn't full of fucking morons who don't understand there's no such thing as right or wrong in philosophical discussion of morality. Right or wrong in the meaning of correct or incorrect, not the meaning of morally right or morally wrong. Just because you're correct doesn't mean... I'm not saying that. I do want to know why she checked a scroll, because even if the scroll was set to vibrate, we'd hear it. You can hear vibrating phones after all. There's like no notification sound. A vibration would be heard. I can hear when my phone vibrates. There's like this sound. Did it just send a message to her head? I am sad we don't get to see more of the news broadcast though, because this little bar here would be a good way to provide small world building without outright exposition. You know how the person we see leaving Pietro's workshop is a Faunus, and how Atlas is an anti-Faunus place generally, so it provides a bit of character building for Pietro without making it explicit. You know, just like that. The limp bin throw is here too, and now Atlas is writing, which gives me hope that the next episode will have actual content to it. If I haven't made it clear, I'm not terribly impressed with this episode. It goes from goofy, pointless, but entertaining montage to boring, bland nothingness that could easily be condensed down to make the episode feel less bogged. You could lessen the dialogue between Penny and Ruby without losing anything, replace the meaningless dialogue between Clover and Robin with dialogue that actually goes into whether or not it's worth taking materials from Mantle without telling them for the sake of helping the world, and the Weiss and Winter scene honestly isn't that bad. For me, it's the best part of the episode, because the characters here have actual chemistry and play off each other decently. The dialogue feels more natural, it plays into the characters, but the fact that they outright say, "You've grown a lot," it's only acceptable in my eyes because they're family and haven't seen each other in a while. But I know other people will complain about it. Honestly, when it comes to people saying you've grown a lot, between family, it's not all that uncommon. Overall, the episode exists, and that's the best thing I can really say about it. Here's to hoping by the halfway point there'll be more than 5 important things to note in the volume, and that Maria will fucking return.